Hi all, on this lovely summer's day in Brittany, I thought I'd do a video. I won't be going outside, so I'll be doing it inside, and we'll be talking about house prices in France. Today we are going to be doing a quick price review of the actual average prices in France over most of the regions. Okay, so behind me here you can see this is a map of France. This is taken from a website called agencenewton.online. Not all estate agents' best friends, but very good data on there certainly. As you can see on this map here, each department is actually broken down and actually given a colour coordination, going from green being the cheapest through to red being the most expensive. And already looking at this map here, you find quite a few surprises. We often hear the Aquitaine is expensive, Brittany is cheap. But if you actually look at this is Brittany here, for example, we're already in the orange and yellow. Aquitaine though, which is all this, which is a big area, yes, admittedly over the actual Atlantic coast here, we are in fairly dark orange. But if you go inland into the Corrèze, the Dordogne being here, for example, and Haute-Vienne in that area, you can see here we're very much in the green. Obviously the further we go into the centre of France, the cheaper it is. That's in the Gers and that sort of area. And then obviously more expensive areas down towards Monaco, Marseille, Cannes, Nice, etc. So obviously the actual coastal areas do come out quite a bit. I won't be talking about Paris because Paris is a market on its own. You can see here at the top, for example, average prices over France. These are averages, let's say, from 1,000 euros a metre square through to 6,000 euros a metre square. The red being 6,000 and the dark green being 1,000. Saying that, when you look into detail into each area, you can find some of the green areas are about 700, and some of the top red areas are getting on close for 10,000 euros a metre square. Obviously, what does that relate to? That relates to the fact that there is price per metre square. Average 3-bedroom house is about 100 metres square, so times that by 100 and you get your price. So if you're on, for example, 1,000 metres square, 100,000 euros, you can get a fairly livable house, or in the red areas you're talking the same thing, about 600,000. Okay. Why I mentioned Paris earlier is due to the fact average prices in Paris go very much, depending on where you are in Paris, can be above 50,000 euros a metre square. So Paris is a market on its own. So quickly zooming into the different regions we cover at Agence Newton. For example, we're in Normandy, Brittany, Pays de Loire, Aquitaine and Occitanie. So if you look into Normandy here, once again we get a fairly similar story. Once again, though, on the top here we've got the averages. We're going from 1,200 to 3,800 per metre square. The main bit is up along the Western Honfleur coast is the most expensive area. Then a bit along the actual Channel Islands around Granville is quite expensive. And then going down to the actual inland more, or basically the further inland you get, the cheaper it is down here. The reason this doesn't actually work so much in this area around here is basically, you can just see it on the side here, there's Paris, so you get into proximity to Paris. Lots and lots of weekend homes in that area from wealthy people in Paris. Then if you go down to Brittany, once again you get the same sort of setup of prices. Here we've got average prices going from 1,320 up to almost 5,000 euros a metre square. Like I said, average of averages. Down on the south coast, good collection of expensive areas along the coast there, going from Concarneau, Quimperlé, Auray, Quiberon, Vannes, etc, etc. Islands like Belle-Île or Corsica even, I won't necessarily count because that's a market on its own. So then on the northern coast, up near Plumeur-Boudou and St Malo, once again more expensive areas. And then obviously around Rennes itself. Rennes here is actually the capital of Brittany, so that's where all the good paid jobs are mainly, so prices automatically go up there. But as you can see here in the centre of Brittany, prices drop down quite a bit. Okay, mainly due to the fact Brittany being a maritime based area. We have the maritime coastal areas and the inland agricultural areas. The maritime ports, trading over the years, that's where all the big towns have developed, and thus that's where the main employment is. Going inland, it's mainly agricultural and thus cheaper prices. If we move down towards the Pays de Loire, once again, similar stories. All along the coast here, this gets very expensive. Nantes itself is a big capital town as well, so lots of work down there. Nantes is one of the most expensive towns in France, actually, after Paris. But as you see, as you go inland, it gets a lot cheaper. Angers, another big town, so that's sort of a bit of a screwball, let's say, in the calculations. Once again, here we're going from cheapest areas 1,100 up to about 4,400. Then, if we head on down to the Nouvelle-Aquitaine, Nouvelle-Aquitaine is massive, so it's just actually showing the departments here as they actually on the before. We have to zoom in slightly to get it, so my screen's not big enough, so I have to go up and down a bit. But basically, as you can see here, all along the Atlantic coast and around the town of Bordeaux, that's where the expensive houses are. Then, as you go inland, they are a lot cheaper. So one thing makes me laugh is actually this old story about Dordogne being expensive. You can see here, we're very much in the cheaper side of things. There are some very expensive places like Sala Canada, so it goes up in price, but I'll be talking about that in another video. Average prices here go from below €1,000 up to 4,500, to give you an idea. Once again, I remind you of that 100 metre square house, so between 98,000 to 450,000 for a basic house. Then if we head down towards Occitanie, Toulouse is a very big town and very important, that's why that's all red round here. Then along here, Montpellier, and the fact it's the coastal areas, Argelès-sur-Mer, close to Perpignan as well. Perpignan is relatively cheap, believe it or not, but along the coast, Sunny goes right up in price. Down here, these are the actual Pyrenees ski stations, that's why it's expensive. But once again, as you go inland and get away from the towns, prices drop right down. On the averages, we're going from 1,200 to about €4,000 per metre square. So there you have it, a quick resume of France and the areas we cover at Agence Newton, basically all down the western side there. And as you can see, preset ideas about Academe being expensive, Brittany being cheap, Normandy being cheap, is actually not necessarily that true. What I will be doing though is deeper dives down into the actual each region, talking about the actual departments with more information, more detailed information on the actual prices. That'll be individual videos by region. So stay tuned, click that old like, subscribe and bell button, and I'll see you soon.